Accordingly, the bill stands referred to the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Technology. And I think we're close enough to the hour to begin statements by members. Déclaration de député. The
statements by members.
Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On January 23rd of this year, the striking workers at the Chronicle Herald hit their one-year mark in a strike where it can only be described that management was operating in bad faith, not coming to the bargaining table. Canadian media and real journalism is in, I think, a crisis in Canada. The Chronicle Herald is the oldest independently owned newspaper in the country. I spent a lot of my life growing up in Nova Scotia. I have read the Chronicle Herald for years, and it is shocking that more than a year has gone by while journalists who believe in their craft and their obligation to the public have stayed out on the picket lines, while management has ignored their many flexible responses, including agreeing to a wage cut. I mark the one-year anniversary with regret and urge both sides to get back to the bargaining table.
Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Mr. Speaker, there is no place like Marmora, Ontario this weekend for the 39th annual Snowfest. This festival has the record as the oldest sled dog race in Canada. As Richard Lowry, one of the organizers, has said, Snowfest was started to help pull Marmora out of economic depression when the mines had closed and they were looking for something to inspire the community and bring everyone together. It all starts this Friday night with the Little Nippers race for kids at the Marmora Public School, followed by the Marmora's Got Talent contest. Then we're in for the main event on Saturday morning at the fairgrounds, a 10-mile Nordic 6-dog pure Siberian Husky race. And there are plenty more races throughout Saturday and Sunday, along with a dance, public skating, curling, food, an artisan show, and more. There's something for everyone. So mush on down to the races. It's easy to get there from Ottawa. G onto Highway 7 and then ha into Marmora. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, last week my staff and I completed training with the Alzheimer's Society of Cornwall and District to better understand dementia, to recognize its symptoms, and to learn some tips on how to more effectively communicate with those who are living with this disease. I'm proud to say that my office is the first MP office in Canada to be certified as dementia-friendly community. Becoming a dementia-friendly community is a simple task and will go a long way in dispelling myths about dementia and helping to eliminate the stigma that many of the over 500,000 Canadians living with dementia feel every day. 3 out of 4 Canadians have been touched by dementia, be it a family member, a friend, or a neighbour. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to contact their local Alzheimer's Society and tell them you want to become a dementia-friendly community. Together we can become leaders and help offer better service to those in our community who are living with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart to celebrate the life of a remarkable man from my riding of Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge. Tom Get Her Done Cameron is the stuff where legends come from. Tom became synonymous with Country Fest, Cops for Cancer, and the Royal Canadian Legion, just to name a few. Even while battling leukemia and against doctors' orders, he insisted on giving his time to his community. He lost his battle on December 17th, but refused to pass until being able to watch children shop for Christmas gifts one last time through his beloved Christmas hamper program. Before he passed, Tom willed to me this tie as a reminder. He loved his community, his friends, his family, and he loved his country. In his own words, if you have time in your life to volunteer, then pay it forward. That's something I've done all my life, and I'm richer for it. Tom, we are all richer because you've been a part of our lives.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to recognize the presence on the Hill today of preeminent Canadians who are this year's recipients of Canada's top research awards. It's my particular honour to recognize Edmonton Strathcona constituent Dr. Darren Grant, Canada Research Chair in Astroparticle Physics at the University of Alberta. He's receiving the EWR Stacey Memorial Fellowship Award. This award will support his continued world-leading research at IceCube, the world's largest particle detector. Located at the South Pole, it records nearly massless subatomic particles called neutrinos by mining deep, ancient, pure glacial ice. I'm told the study of these contributes to the knowledge of how the universe evolved. I invite all the members of the House to join me in a round of applause for Dr. Grant and all of the award winners.
The honourable member for Toronto Danforth.
Mr. Speaker, our community suffered a terrible loss on Christmas Eve when a fire broke out at a family cottage on Stony Lake, taking the lives of Jackie Gardner, Jeff Tabor, their sons Scott and Andrew, and their family dogs Shelby and Haley. We met when Andrew started JK with my daughter at Franklin Community School. Jackie volunteered in the classroom and was an active member of the parent community at Franklin and later at Montcrest. Jackie was a founding member of the Danforth Hunger Squad for Second Harvest and was always there to lend a helping hand. Jeff was a partner at Osler's and worked to support entrepreneurs. Active in the community, he was a cyclist, a leader at the Riverdale Riders, and a coach at Withrow Park Ball Hockey. Jeff and Jackie were dedicated to Scott and Andrew and supporting their love of hockey. They were growing up to be wonderful young men. We grieve for their loss, but we also celebrate all that they helped us build in our community. Thank you.
The member for Newmarket Aurora.
Who passed away on January 25th. Don was a graduate of Victoria College and a member of its football team. He graduated from the U of T's law school and practiced law for over 50 years. He acted as a NAFTA arbitrator, as counsel to the Standing Committee of the House of Commons on Finance, and as chief counsel to the Royal Commission on Newspapers. Don acted in many notable competition law cases. He also co-authored Canadian Competition Law, a widely recognized authority. Don was not only an architect for competition law in Canada, he was also instrumental in establishing one of the first boutique litigation law firms in Toronto, having co-founded Affleck Green McMurtry 25 years ago. I had the honor of working with him for many years. He was a mentor and a friend, not only to me, but to all who had the privilege of knowing him. The entire legal community has suffered a grave loss. To his colleagues at the firm, to his entire family, and most importantly, to his wife Shannon, I offer my deepest sympathies. Don, I will miss you. Rest in peace.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to rise in the House today to recognise the presence of milk producers from across Canada here in Ottawa who've come to raise awareness on the milk industry and the importance of 100% Canadian milk. I'm proud because my riding is rural and it is home to many dairy farms that create jobs. Those are often family enterprises that contribute to a key sector in our economy and in our society. I'm proud because ever since I was elected, I haven't missed a single opportunity to rise and to advocate on issues that affect dairy producers, particularly the import of milk proteins and supply management. It's time the government took action. Liberals have constantly said that they would settle the issue if they were elected, but 1 year and a half later, nothing. With annual revenues of $3.6 billion and 215,000 full-time jobs, it is time. Thank you for all that you do, and rest assured that I will not give up.
City.
Mr. Speaker, this past Friday I had the opportunity to announce over $800,000 in Government of Canada funding for heritage projects in the city of Surrey. This funding will not only allow the Surrey Museum to begin its expansion, but also to restore the historic Annydale School, Surrey's only remaining one-room schoolhouse. Annydale is Surrey's oldest surviving school building. Built in 1899, it is also one of the first ones in the city and was used until 1954. Annydale School is among a diverse collection of heritage sites in Cloverdale-Langley City and reminds us of our community's rich history. Like many heritage buildings across Canada, the Annydale School was, until recently, at risk through neglect or demolition. I'm proud to have announced the Government of Canada's involvement in the preservation of Cloverdale-Langley City's unique history. With Canada's 150th year just beginning, I would encourage all Canadians and every member in this House to promote the preservation of our country's remarkable built heritage. Thank you.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians should be able to expect that the criminal code accurately reflects the state of the law, and yet there are multiple sections of the criminal code that have been found unconstitutional and yet remain in the criminal code. These zombie laws can have serious consequences. That was illustrated last fall when Travis Vader's conviction for 2 counts of second-degree murder of Lyle and Marie McCann was vacated after the trial judge based his conviction on a zombie section of the criminal code. Fortunately, there is something that this government can do to prevent the serious miscarriage of justice that the McCann family endured from happening again. The government can introduce legislation to repeal zombie sections of the criminal code. It's time for this government to act. It's time for this government to repeal zombie laws.
The honourable member for Kanata Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, this weekend I had the privilege of joining school children in my riding as they prepared Valentines for Veterans. I also received a large envelope of Valentines from W. Erskine Johnson's public school in Canada filled with gorgeous Valentines for Veterans. Chaque année, les écoles et les
Every year, schools and organizations in Canada are invited to establish St. Valentine's Day, create St. Valentine's cards for veterans.
Facilities across the country in time for February 14th. I want to make everyone aware of this great initiative, and I'd gladly like to inform you that we will accept any Valentines to veterans and make sure they get to our veterans because they deserve our thanks and our gratitude. Merci.
Thank you.
Member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, today we're joined on Parliament Hill by the recipients of the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada's top research award winners. It's my distinct pleasure to note that this year's winner of our country's highest award for science and engineering research, the Hertzberg Gold Medal, is from my riding, the great city of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Dr. Jeff Don of Dalhousie University is Canada's leader in battery research. Over the course of his career, he has helped pioneer the lithium-ion battery that is used in mobile technologies around the world. But it gets better. In June of 2016, Dr. Don entered into a collaboration with Tesla, where he will use his expertise to improve electric vehicle performance. And I'd like to mention, this is the first time Tesla has ever collaborated with a university researcher. So I proudly invite all members of this House to join me in applauding Dr. Don on this special occasion, and to once again congratulate all of the talented NSERC award recipients we have with us today.
The honourable member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Mr. Speaker, today I would like to pay tribute to WestJet Airlines for a truly remarkable Christmas surprise and for their heroic evacuation efforts during the Fort McMurray fire. WestJet's generosity and compassion is amazing. On November 26th, at the Snowflake Soiree in Fort McMurray, WestJet hosted 1,000 local residents to an exciting party. Hundreds of gift boxes containing personalized family portraits and WestJet flight vouchers had arrived by parachutes from the sky. In the words of the CEO, Greg Sorotsky, WestJet is deeply connected to the community, which is why we want to show them how much we care. The event was filmed to create the 2016 WestJet Christmas Miracle video. In addition, WestJet has been working with partners to boost tourism, and I encourage all members to visit Fort McMurray and experience the boreal forest and everything our multicultural community has to offer. Thanks to WestJet for being an incredible corporate partner and bringing us some much-needed cheer. Once again, thank you, WestJet.
The honourable member for Louis-Hébert. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to invite my colleagues to join me to highlight the success of talented award winners, the top researchers in natural sciences and engineering in Canada. I'd like to pay tribute to 3 researchers from Laval University who are among this year's winners. Christian Landry was awarded the EWR Stacey Memorial Fellowship to highlight his exceptional achievements in his early career. Laurent Drisson received a Synergy Award for Innovation in partnership with ABB Inc. He has worked on significantly boosting the detail of resolution for the world's most powerful telescopes. Sylvain Moineau won the NSERC John C. Polanyi Award, leading to significant international advances on the human genome. I would invite everyone in this chamber to join me in applauding their achievements, as well as all other award winners of the NSERC Top Research Awards. Thank you.
The honourable member for New Westminster Burnaby.
Sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. We are seeing a tragic outbreak of hatred in this country and in the United States. We must speak out and denounce hatred in all of its forms, whether it comes as an anonymous tract left outside a church door, as happened recently in my riding, or whether it comes as a statement or action from the new President of the United States. All of us have the responsibility to speak out against hatred. Nous avons vu il y a 9 jours.
9 days ago, we saw how far this can go after the massacre in a Quebec City mosque. This must never be repeated, and that's why we have to speak out.
Canadians and Americans are marching, talking, reacting on social media, because we all understand that hatred is wrong, that love should govern all of what we do in our lives. Jack Layton's final words were clear. My friends, love is better than anger. Hope is better than fear. Optimism is better than despair. So let us be loving, hopeful, and optimistic, and we'll change the world.
The honourable member for York Simcoe.
Yesterday, Canadians across the country joined with all of the people of the Commonwealth in celebrating and congratulating Her Majesty the Queen on her Sapphire Jubilee, marking 65 years since her accession to the throne. Her Majesty has dedicated her entire life to service. As the Queen of Canada, she unites Canadians and gives us a shared sense of identity and belonging to our country. Remarkably, Her Majesty has witnessed more than half of our country's history over her lifetime and has reflected on her admiration for how Canada has grown and matured while remaining true to its history, distinctive character, and its values. As we enter the 150th anniversary of our Confederation, we will continue our loyal dedication to the crowning Canada. God save the Queen.
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, today is the last day of celebrations of the World Interfaith Harmony Week, as adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2010 to promote better understanding of different cultures and faiths. In Canada, there were celebrations across the country, including harmony through music, culture, and dialogue. In light of the recent events in Canada and across the globe, the work of World Interfaith Harmony Week is crucial. I encourage all members to reach out to people of different traditions and backgrounds to build bridges across all faiths. Canada has long been a diverse and accepting nation, and we must never allow a minority of people to spread hate and create intolerance. Let us all embrace and practice the motto of WIHW, love of the good and love of thy neighbor. Peace, Om Shanti, Salam, Shalom. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, on the evening of July 30th, 2008, Vincent Lee boarded a Greyhound bus and beheaded 22-year-old Tim McLean. Today, he walks the streets like a free man, and he's even legally changed his name to Will Baker. I think I speak for a lot of Canadians when I say this doesn't seem right. Can the Prime Minister assure Canadians he'll look for ways to close loopholes that allow killers to change their names and even walk our streets only a few short years after their heinous crimes?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Canadians need to know that they're safe in their communities, and that's why one of the most important priorities of any government is to keep Canadians and their communities safe. We have a very strong justice system that we're working hard to continually improve, and I'm very confident that our Minister of Justice is doing everything she can to make sure that Canadians are safe and that there are the right framework of laws and justice in place to protect all of us.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we know that the Justice Minister is looking to reform the law in a different way. So when I hear the Prime Minister's response, I can't help but think that he's more concerned with the well-being of Vincent Lee, the man who actually beheaded Tim McLean in the middle of the bus, than he is Tim's family. The concern here, Mr. Speaker, is Vincent Lee is going to be living not that far from Tim McLean's mother. So can the Prime Minister once again reassure me that he's going to put the rights of victims ahead of criminals?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our heart goes out to the McLean family and specifically to his mother. I can't imagine the grief, the anguish that she had to go through and that she must continue to experience. It is the responsibility of all of us in this House to protect Canadians' rights, to protect victims, to make sure that every Canadian's rights are being respected. That is something that we take very seriously, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Opposition.
Monsieur le Président, aujourd'hui,
Mr. Speaker, today this House, I hope, will be voting to block the Liberal plan, which will impose taxes on health and dental benefits. But it seems that the Prime Minister wants to target seniors now by eliminating the age tax credit and pension income splitting. Those are measures he's targeting. Will the Prime Minister reverse his decision, which will simply take money out of the pockets of seniors? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the members opposite were the ones that increased the retirement age. We brought it down to 65. This was an election campaign promise that we kept. We also increased the GIS by $1,000 for seniors, for the most vulnerable seniors. And we have reformed and strengthened the Canada Pension Plan to ensure that everyone has retirement in the future. We are committed to defending seniors, to help the most vulnerable Canadians, and that is exactly what we're going to do. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's not the answer to the question that I asked. The tax breaks that I'm referring to for seniors could be worth, on average, over $1,000 per senior. Most seniors are already on a fixed income and they can't afford to lose this kind of money. Is the Prime Minister seriously considering this kind of a cash grab on seniors to pay for his out-of-control spending?
Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, this government takes very seriously the well-being of seniors. That's why we increased the guaranteed income supplement by $1,000 for the lowest income seniors. That's why we committed and actually followed through on our commitment to lower the retirement age from 67 to 65. That's why we've strengthened the CPP, which will help seniors, but also everyone as they approach retirement. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, this government is focused on helping our seniors, our vulnerable low-income and middle-income seniors, and we will continue to do just that.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, so we still don't have an answer. Mr. Speaker, with over 3/4 of our exports going to the U.S., thousands of jobs are riding on the Prime Minister's plan to renegotiate NAFTA. And so far, his track record isn't so great. The softwood lumber talks have gone so badly that the Prime Minister didn't even include them in the mandate letters for his new Foreign and Trade Minister. So, since the Prime Minister has abandoned softwood workers, why should Canadians have any faith in his ability to protect their jobs when he renegotiates NAFTA?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, since we formed government, we've been working very closely with the American administration, both the last one and this one, to deal with the softwood lumber issue that means jobs for thousands of Canadians and indeed jobs in communities right across the country. We need to make sure we are preserving market access to the United States. That's exactly what we're focused on. We continue to engage with the highest levels of the new American administration to emphasize how many Canadian jobs and American jobs depend on close working relationship between our two countries and smooth flows across the border.
Mr. Speaker,
The Prime Minister has broken the law on conflict of interest during his exclusive vacation for him and a few friends. When the Prime Minister was forced to admit this fact, he said, quote, "We don't see an issue on it." My question for the Prime Minister, has he personally met with the Ethics Commissioner, and what excuse did he provide her for breaking the law?
Hear, hear.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said many times, this was a personal family vacation, and I am working with the Ethics Commissioner to respond to any of her questions, and I look forward to continuing to engaging with her as questions arise.
The honourable member from Outremont.
Sorry, but knowing a billionaire for a long time doesn't excuse the Prime Minister breaking the law.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister can do all kinds of things to try to distract us and to blame others. But the fact remains that this is the first time that the Ethics Commissioner has decided to investigate a Prime Minister who is still in power. What kind of a message are we sending to Canadians when the Prime Minister breaks the law and doesn't think that he should face any consequences? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, what we're seeing is a victory for transparency and accountability. I'm very happy to answer any questions that the Ethics Commissioner has. It's important for us all to answer the questions when put by the Commissioner on these important issues for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
And those hoping to join the billionaire class. Hier, le comité consultatif.
Yesterday, the Finance Minister's economic panel recommended an increase to the retirement age. When asked about the proposal, the Liberal Finance Minister said, quote, "We'll take that into consideration." Increasing access to retirement when, in fact, seniors are already suffering is a terrible idea. Can the Prime Minister reject this recommendation and confirm that Canada will not increase the retirement age? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I was elected on a promise to reduce the retirement age from 67 to 65. That's exactly what we did. We're going to continue.
Question, Mr. Speaker. The Finance Minister's panel recommended an increase to the retirement age. When asked about this proposal, the Liberal Finance Minister would not rule it out. No, instead he said, quote, "We'll take it into consideration." So this government is considering forcing seniors to work years longer. I don't remember seeing that in the Liberal election platform, Mr. Speaker. So will the Prime Minister stand up and dismiss this recommendation, and will he tell his Finance Minister that raising the retirement age is out of the question?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I invite the member opposite to go consult liberal.ca, where that promise is still written down. We will lower we lowered the age of retirement from 67 to 65 the way we promised to do it. That's what Canadians expect of us, and that's what we're going to keep to.
Order, please.
L'honorable député de Lac-Saint.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, more than half of Canada's industrial production is exported. 75% of those exports go to the U.S., Mr. Speaker. And with the new American administration, it wants to keep jobs in the U.S. It's very protectionist. How can Canada face that? We need a plan with objectives, with clear objectives, in order to support Canadian companies. What is the plan that the government has to do that? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Our government is working hard to ensure growth for the middle class and for those who are working hard to join it. We are working in close cooperation with manufacturers, suppliers, and union leaders in this country. We need a Team Canada approach. We must work together, and that is what we are doing. We will vigorously defend our national interests and defend Canada's values. The Honourable Member. Not very reassuring, Mr. Speaker. And now I understand that there are ministers from across the country who came to Canada to talk about, or producers rather, to talk about softwood lumber. And now there are dairy producers in town today talking about their concerns. Now, they said this issue of softwood lumber will be dealt with in 100 days. We need to know what the government's plan is, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The softwood lumber agreement expired under the previous government, Mr. Speaker. Our government will energetically defend the interests of workers and producers in the softwood lumber industry in Canada. We will continue to work in close cooperation with workers and producers. We are seeking a good agreement for Canada, not just any old agreement, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the Minister, once again, dodged an answer when I asked him if his government planned to take steps to change pension income splitting. And, Mr. Speaker, our fears were warranted because the National Post is talking about this gluttonous attitude by the Minister of Finance, and now he's taking aim at the age tax credit. There have been two questions put to the Minister. Can the Minister tell us, yes or no, if he plans to change the errors and mistakes of administration that his government is taking with respect to seniors? And the Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, what I can say is that we are going to continue with our plan to help Canadians across the country, especially the middle class and Canada's most vulnerable people. We started with measures that have truly helped the middle class, a tax cut for the middle class, an increase through the Canada Child Benefit. We will continue to work on measures like this to improve the situation for Canadians in the future. The Honourable Member.
Comes again, can answer clear question. This is bad. And is it really the Dodger-in-Chief in this government? It must be the MVP of the year. But the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that today, the National Post called another shot against him, talking about an even bigger pot of money for the Liberals is the age-a-month tax credit. So can we have just once, crystal clear answer, yes or no? Does his government intend to attack his bad judgment and bad and misadequacy to address the issue of finance public money against the elder?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, to just remind the House, this is the government that has moved forward on measures to help the most vulnerable with Canada Child Benefit, to help the middle class with reductions in taxes, to help seniors that are most vulnerable. We are going to continue to move forward in this regard. All of the measures that we put in the upcoming budget and budgets to come will be intended to improve Canadian situation. That is our goal because we recognize that that's important for the future of this country.
Honourable Member for South Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the Government of Canada's own website, it clearly states that 1,202 infrastructure projects have not started construction. That means 96% of the projects the Liberals have announced are not being built and are not creating jobs. Announcements don't create jobs. For 3 days, I have asked the Minister to flow the remaining $9 billion before the next construction season. He has refused to commit each and every time. When will the Minister finally commit to flowing the $9 billion to communities for infrastructure projects?
Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
We are doubling our infrastructure investments to create long-term growth and jobs for the middle class, to build a low-carbon economy as well build strong, inclusive and welcoming communities. We have approved more than 1,200 projects, and I would like to tell the member more than 60% of those projects are currently underway, creating opportunities for Canadians. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Richmond, Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, mayors across the country are concerned. The Liberal government had promised $13.6 billion for infrastructure projects, but according to a report by the Parliamentary Budget Officer, only $4.6 billion have been approved. How can these elected officials, who work hard day in and day out, plan their budgets not knowing if the government's going to free up the money that's been promised to them? Can the Minister stop simply repeating the same list of projects that have been approved and finally free up the $9 billion that is so necessary for all of our communities?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me tell the House what the President of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities had to say about the program. He says these unprecedented infrastructure investments will mean more growth, more jobs, and stronger communities. Let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, about my mayor, has to say about our plan. He says, across the board, today's announcement is a big acknowledgement that cities are critical partners in nation building. Let me tell you what the mayor of Surrey has to say, Mr. Speaker. The city of Surrey applauds the federal government's commitment to providing stable...
All we have time for. The honourable member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, do you know how cynicism grows in our politics? First, you ask Canadians to get engaged on reforming our democracy. Next, you have MPs hold town halls right across the country. Then you spend millions of dollars going back and forth asking Canadians, and in good faith, they respond, and in droves. They get excited about their democracy. But then Liberals say, sorry, Canada, not good enough. That's not the answer that Liberals were looking for. That's how cynicism grows in our politics. The Prime Minister campaigned on being an antidote to cynicism, not a brand new source of it. So at the very least, will he find the decency to apologize to Canadians who took him in good faith?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sincerely hope that that's not the road that anyone in this House would go down. It's incumbent upon all of us as Canadians, as leaders, as political leaders in our communities, to continue to encourage all Canadians to engage. Whether or not they pursue policies that they are championing, engagement in our political process is so crucial and so fundamental, and I look forward to working with all members in this House to ensure we continue to encourage all Canadians to engage in politics.
The honourable member for Valois-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, we've just learned that a Canadian family of Muslim faith was denied entry into the United States. What's worse, they were questioned on their religious beliefs. This is a direct consequence of Donald Trump's discriminatory policy. Will this government finally join the NDP and vigorously denounce this shameful treatment of Canadian citizens? The Honourable Minister.
Our government is clear on continuing the progressive tradition of Canada as being an open and compassionate society. We've been assured by the White House that Canadian citizens and holders of permanent resident cards that are valid continue to have access to the United States. We will assist anyone with difficulties, but we remain an open society that is open to people and ideas.
Honourable member for Carleton.
A high-level Finance Department memo predicted of the Liberal carbon tax that it will, quote, cascade through the economy in the form of higher prices, thus leading all firms and consumers to pay more for goods and services. This memo focuses on the potential impact of a carbon tax on households. Key findings are blanked out. This government knows the cost to average Canadians of its carbon tax. Why are they hiding it?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unlike the party opposite, we understand that taking action on climate change will make us more competitive, not less. Also, with respect to the document...
Order. I know members want to hear the answer. We need to hear the answer, so no interruptions are allowed. As members know, the Honourable Minister of Environment has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member opposite well knows, the document to which he refers was actually created in 2015 under the previous government. So he may actually know what is in the document. I'd like to also remind the member that it's non-partisan public servants that manage the access to information requests.
Honourable member for Carleton.
The member is quite right. It was produced the day after the last election when public servants were scrambling to find out how expensive this new party would be to the average Canadian. In fact, they very dutifully produced a report which said that these costs would cascade down onto middle-class and working-class Canadians. And if that member is so confident in the findings that were produced in that document, she would uncensor it and release it for all Canadians to see. Why won't she?
Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would actually encourage the member to go visit the Government of Canada website, where they can actually find the findings of our provincial and federal working group on carbon pricing. I assume that he hasn't gone there yet. I'm happy to direct the member to that website. But with respect to access to information requests, those are handled by nonpartisan public servants. So that is why the document was produced the way it was.
The honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of transport is built into every single good and service. When you increase the cost of transporting goods and services with a new carbon tax, you increase the price of everything, making Canadian products uncompetitive. When asked about the economic impact of the carbon tax, the Minister of Transport's response, "It depends," doesn't inspire confidence. Can the Transport Minister tell Canadians if his department has conducted any analysis of the impact the carbon tax will have on Canada's transportation sector?
Good question.
Minister of Environment.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, our government recognizes that the economy and climate change go together. That is why working with the provinces and territories to deal with greenhouse gas emissions and to work on the economy. You can look at my department's website, Environment and Climate Change Canada, and you will find the information that the member is looking for.
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members of the Natural Resources Committee demanded that we do an emergency study on the economic impact the carbon tax would have on our energy industry. The Liberals on that committee refused. Now we are asking for data that shows the impact the tax will have on our most vulnerable, seniors, young families. Again, the Liberals have refused. If the carbon tax is supposed to be some sort of job creation revelation, why are they hiding the facts? Will the facts show that thanks to the carbon tax, all Canadians will pay absolutely more for absolutely everything?
The Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad to take this opportunity and grateful for that from the member to remind the House that we all have a duty to meet the needs of our most vulnerable population. And this government has taken historic steps to reducing poverty, including taking 40% of all children in poverty out of poverty, including taking 13,000 seniors out of poverty, including, Mr. Speaker, looking forward to increasing the income security of our seniors. That's a package, Mr. Speaker, which would invite our colleagues opposite to support very strongly.
Honourable member for Churchill, Kiewit, and Okaski.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Youth told a room full of young people that their skill set is the reason their generation faces precarious work. Unfortunately, this is only one of the many comments made by this government that show just how out of touch they are. Low-wage, precarious work is not the fault of the millennial generation. So when will this government stop blaming young people, show leadership, and build good, stable jobs for millennials and all Canadians?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we're proud of the investments that we're making after 10 years of inaction by the previous government. We're proud of the fact that we're investing $1.5 billion in our bursaries program so that more students can go to university. We're proud of the fact that we're doubling the number of summer jobs by doubling the funding for the summer jobs program. And we're also proud of the fact that we're investing record amounts in science, technology, and innovation so that when those students graduate, they have the jobs waiting for them. One more thing, Mr. Speaker. Youth can be proud of the fact that for the first time, the Prime Minister also took on the role of Minister of Youth and is taking a hands-on approach to making sure they have all that they need to realize their full potential.
Honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Loire. Order. Once again, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Youth is completely mute. He's issued letters of mandate for all of his ministers, but he hasn't written his own. Maybe that's why he's not familiar with his own files and why he gets booed by young people during his conferences. Maybe that's also why he doesn't respond to my questions, which leads to ludicrous situations where, like in December, the parliamentary secretary for natural resources answered in his place. Will the Minister of Youth stop hiding behind his other ministers and finally explain what his objectives are? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, In addition to all the investments that I have just mentioned, our government always engages with young people. With the creation of the Prime Minister's Youth Council, with the fact that we created an expert committee to talk to young people, so to see how they can have the best chances for job opportunities. Mr. Speaker, we work hard for young people, and we're going to keep doing so.
Scarborough Rouge Park.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister gave the Minister of Canadian Heritage and the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada the mandate letter instructions to reinstate a modernized court challenges program. Can the Minister of Canadian Heritage update this House on the government's progress on this file?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the member from Scarborough Rouge Park for his important question. I am pleased to announce, along with my colleague, Minister of Justice, the reinstatement and modernization of the Court Challenges program. Ce programme a poussé les gouvernements successifs.
This also helps the government to be accountable for the rights and freedoms of all Canadians.
A strong voice to argue for language rights and equality rights in all spheres of life. Alors, ce sont des bonnes nouvelles.
So that is good news, and I'm very happy to make this announcement.
Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, we've learned that 2/3 of the Super Hornets in the U.S. Navy have been grounded and are awaiting parts due to high costs. And the Super Hornet now costs more to buy than the F-35. This is what happens when you buy a fighter jet at the end of its production life. You get higher costs and lower performance. Will the Liberals proceed immediately to an open and transparent competition and stop this dangerous and costly sole source purchase of Super Hornets?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we are committed to making sure that our women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces have the right equipment, including our Air Force. That's why we will have committed to an open competition that we will be launching. But also we are committed to making sure that we have the right equipment now to fill all the gaps, and that's the reason why we're having the interim purchase that the Minister of Procurement is currently discussing with Boeing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Beauport. The member for Beauport-Limoilou.
Equipment. Les avions Super Hornets.
The Super Hornets are going to be used for a maximum of 12 years and are going to cost Canadians over $300 million each. Even worse, there are no industrial benefits that would seem to be coming to Canadian businesses. The Minister of Procurement is supposed to manage taxpayers' money properly and by fostering Canadian business. How far is the Minister willing to go to foster the interests of the Liberal Party instead of fostering the interests of all Canadians?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, if the previous government had looked after the Canadian Armed Forces and made the purchase, we wouldn't be in this situation, but we are where we're at, and decisions have to be made. We're committed to making sure that we have the right equipment, and that's why we're moving very rapidly to making sure that we fill the gaps that have been created, and we're committed to making sure that we have the equipment, not just for our Air Force, but the entire Canadian Armed Forces, and that's why we conducted a very thorough defence review that I look forward to launching with our government in the early new year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Selkirk, Interlake, East.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a manufactured to make-believe capability gap the Minister speaks of. Now, the Prime Minister has been campaigning on the backs of our men and women in uniform in the Canadian Armed Forces to earn himself a temporary seat on the UN Security Council. The Defence Minister has refused to say where in Africa our troops are going to be going, and he knows that our troops will be in combat against child soldiers. Clearly, this is not a peacekeeping mission. Before the Prime Minister sends our troops into combat against child soldiers in Africa, will he bring this UN combat mission to the House for a full debate and a vote?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, I've said right from the beginning, when it comes to conflict, we need to understand the situation on the ground. That's why we're taking the time to making sure that we look at all the various factors. We are talking to experts, including former General Romeo Dallaire, when it comes to the issue of child soldiers. My Chief of Defence Staff has done considerable work on this, and any decision that we make, we're making sure our troops have the right equipment, the right rules of engagement, to making sure that they have the right impact on the ground. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Charlebourg Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are talking about peacekeeping missions, And they said that this would never be a combat mission. But now we're talking about guidelines for child soldiers, and they will have to use force to kill them where necessary. When we know that how much child soldiers are used in Africa, we know that gunfire will be exchanged, and that sounds like a combat mission. So why are the Liberals insisting on getting us involved in the African quagmire without debating it in the House?
Mr. Speaker, as many times we stated that Canada has a responsible place in the world. As we look at the various threats that we need to deal with, we need to reduce conflict as well. We need to reduce the recruitment into these violent extremist organizations so that we can prevent a situation like child soldiers. But we have an extremely competent Canadian Armed Forces. Our Chief of Defence Staff is looking at these issues. Any mission that we send our troops, we're making sure that we're going to have the right impact on the ground. That's why we are taking the time to make this very important decision. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Les-Basques. In each of our ridings, we have owners of small businesses, farmers, and fishers who want to take their retirement and sell their business to the next generation. But the problem is that a farmer who wants to pass his farm on to his children must spend hundreds of thousands of more in taxes than if he sold to someone outside of the family.
Minimizing tax avoidance opportunities, amendments could be made to minimize them even more. But instead of working with me, the government will clearly whip the vote to defeat this bill without even proposing an alternative. Why won't they allow for a free vote?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to start by saying that we recognize the importance of farmers, small businesses across our country. We recognize the importance of ensuring that they have an opportunity to pass their business to their next family member. The bill in question, unfortunately, would have the unintended consequence of opening up a tax loophole of up to $1.2 billion for the richest of Canadians. So it's for that reason that we believe that this is not something that we can move forward on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the sustainability of our family farms is a very important matter, and I'd like to thank my colleague for all his hard work on this file. Today, Mr. Speaker, we have a number of dairy producers here on the Hill with us. They are calling on the Prime Minister to protect family farms by voting in favour of this bill, but also by addressing their concerns about supply management within the renegotiation of NAFTA. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister confirm to us today that in the renegotiation of NAFTA, he will defend our supply management system in full?
The Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said many times in this House, our government certainly truly supports our Canadian dairy farmers and the supply management system. We're the party that fought hard to put the supply management system in place, and we will continue to protect and defend it. Canada's supply management system is a model for the world, and our government will continue to work closely with farmers to make sure that our agricultural programs remain in place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, let's take a deeper look at the Prime Minister's close friends who run the Liberal Party think tank Canada 2020. Tom Pitfield worked on the Prime Minister's leadership campaign and the federal election. He is also married to the President of the Liberal Party of Canada. Tim Barber of Blue Sky Strategies co-founded Canada 2020, and his bio brags about his experience in defence procurement. And Susan Smith, another Canada 2020 co-founder, is registered to lobby this government. She is also president of the Ottawa Laurier Club for Liberal Donors. So will the Prime Minister commit today to quit giving taxpayer funds to his close Liberal friends at Canada 2020?
Hear, hear. The Minister of Science.
Mr. Speaker, our government values science and scientists and the important work they do. The Social Sciences Humanities Research Council has a mandate to share and promote research with Canadians. As I said, the Council is an arm's-length organization. It is able to issue contracts below a certain threshold. The amount was below the threshold, and the decision was made by the Council. As I've said before, we will not politicize science like the previous government.
The Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, Mr. Speaker, they've certainly turned ethical lapses into a science. Canada 2020 has its hands all over this Liberal government. They are even out bragging about their new office space in the parliamentary precinct. We already know of the close relationship their President Tom Pitfield has with the Prime Minister.
But what about Susan Smith? She's the co-founder of Canada 2020, principal of the lobby agency Blue Sky Strategies, and president of the Liberal fundraising Laurier Club. The Prime Minister has given his friends at Canada 2020 and Blue Sky Strategies unprecedented access. Will the Prime Minister promise to quit giving taxpayer funds to his close Liberal friends at Canada 2020?
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister of Science.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said, our government values science, scientists, and the important work they do. As I've said, the Granting Council is an arm's-length organization. It has the ability to issue contracts below a certain value. This contract fell below that value, and the decision was made by the Council. I can't repeat it enough. Our government will not politicize science the way the previous government did.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, well, thousands of Canadians are looking for work. The Ministers of Agriculture and Justice are giving partisan jobs to their cronies. And if that wasn't enough, the Liberals are also giving money to their friends. They are contributing hand over fist to Canada 2020, that think tank that includes notorious Liberals. And, Mr. Speaker, instead of always compensating his friends, will the Prime Minister take his job seriously and end this demonstration of his elastic ethics? Honourable Minister of Science.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are so proud in this government that we value research, science, scientists, and the important work they do. As I've repeated many times in the House, the Granting Council is an arm's-length organization. It has the ability to issue contracts below a certain value. This contract fell below that threshold, and the Council took a decision. We are proud of our commitment to science.
Well, member for Sault Ste. Marie.
Mr. Speaker, recently the Minister of Transport made an announcement in my riding of Sault Ste. Marie about our government's investments in regional airports. In my region of Northern Ontario alone, the airports of Sault Ste. Marie, Bearskin Lake, Fort Albany, Deer Lake, Lansdowne House, Moosonee, and Sachago Lake all received important investments this year. Can the Minister of Transport please update this House on how he's helping to improve connectivity in rural Canadian communities?
Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the hard-working member from the Soo for his very important question. We do deeply care about transport connectivity in our region. C'est pour ça qu'on dépense 58.
That is why we're spending $58 million for our regional airports, including a very long list, for example, in Rouyn-Noranda in Quebec, God's River in Manitoba, the airport of Points North Landing in Saskatchewan, an airport in BC, the aeroport of Red Sucker Lake in Manitoba, the airport of Magdalen Islands in Quebec, the airport of Wabush, Labrador, the airport of Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. Should I go on?
St. Albert, Edmonton.
The Minister of Justice has lamely tried to justify the Liberals' opposition to Wynn's Law on the basis that it was not recommended in the Alberta Bail Review. Jonathan Dennis, Alberta's former Justice Minister who ordered the review, says Wynn's Law actually complements the review, a review that was limited to provincial jurisdiction. So now that the minister's lame excuse has clearly been debunked by the very minister who ordered the review, will she do the right thing and support Wynn's Law?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy to stand up to again underscore that we are doing a comprehensive review of the criminal justice system, including bail reform. And the report or the study that the member opposite is referring to was conducted or put in place after the tragic death of Constable Wynn. And none of the 31 recommendations from the report spoke to the legislative changes that are proposed in this public members' bill. Having said that, I will continue to work with my counterparts in the provinces and territories to ensure that we provide safety to Canadians through the justice system and ensure that we move forward with the comprehensive reform that hasn't occurred in over 20 years.
Honourable Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
1 in 5 sexual assault allegations are dismissed by police as unfounded. Rape victims are being told that their experience did not happen. In some places, the unfounded dismissal rate is as high as 30%. And this is the result of a culture that continues to spread sexist myths about rape. And it's exactly why many women are reluctant to report sexual assault in the first place. We need a system that believes survivors. When will this government ensure rape victims get the support they deserve?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for the Status of Women.
Mr. Speaker, 1 in 5 unfounded cases of sexual assault is too many. 1 is too many. No one should live in fear of violence, regardless of their gender, where they live, or who they love. And we've heard the call for federal leadership, Mr. Speaker. That's why I'm looking forward to releasing the federal strategy on gender-based violence in the coming weeks.
Member for Guelph.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is growing, and as we grow, the needs of Canadians also grow. The increasing cost of rent in our larger cities is squeezing lower-income Canadians out of urban areas. Would the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development please update this House on the progress of the government's national housing strategy and how it will benefit low-income Canadians?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like first to thank the member for Guelph for his hard work on behalf of his constituents. Our government believes that all Canadians deserve access to housing that meet their needs and that they can afford. Budget 2016 invested an additional $2.3 billion over 2 years, which will directly help 200,000 Canadian families. We will also be launching this year the first national housing strategy in 4 decades. This strategy will give our communities and our housing partners the long-term support they seek to meet the housing needs of our families.
Honourable Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last weekend, not one but several anonymous sources reported details of the Cabinet meeting in which it was decided to change course on electoral reform. Now, any Cabinet leak is prohibited by the Policy on Security of Cabinet Confidences. By law, such breaches require immediate investigation. Given the existence of 2 anonymous sources, this does look a bit like a coordinated effort to allow the Prime Minister to spread the blame for changing course to the entire Cabinet. But I could be wrong about the source of the leaks, so has a PCO investigation been launched into these leaks from Cabinet?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, no, it hasn't. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, for a few years now, every time Ottawa negotiates a deal, it uses supply management as a bargaining chip. They want to open the European market to Western beef producers. It's Quebec who loses out. They want to open the Trans-Pacific market to grain producers. It's our Quebec producers who lose out. And they don't even adequately compensate Quebecers. Now, the Minister of Finance is off to Washington, so can the government guarantee that for once, supply management will not be used as a bargaining chip?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. I appreciate
you, Mr. Speaker.
As my honourable colleague is well aware, we have and will continue to support the agricultural sector in this country, including supply management. My honourable colleague is well aware that we put a $350 million fund in place in order to of innovation in the dairy farming process, or in the processing sector. What this government is doing is making sure that the farmers in the processing sector has the tools in order to do the job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the Americans are engaging in unfair competition with generous subsidies to their dairy producers, and the federal government is abandoning our producers. Supply management is not covered by NAFTA to protect Quebec dairy producers. Now that the Minister of International Trade has finally gotten his limousine and his portfolio by selling out Quebec to the banks, will he act to protect supply management? Honourable Minister of International Trade. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for his question. He'll be happy to know that I met with dairy producers this very morning to reaffirm our commitment to supply management in this country. Mr. Speaker, we're working for all Canadians, for farmers, and we are working to engage in trade. That is our commitment, and we'll keep it.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of the Gerhard Hertzberg Canada Gold Medal for Science and Engineering Prize winner, Dr. Jeff Don. And the John C. Polanyi Prize winner, Dr. Sylvain Moineau. Also with us in the Ladies' Gallery are the winners of the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council Synergy Awards for Innovation, Stacy Memorial Fellowships, and Gilles Brassard Doctoral Prize for Interdisciplinary Research. The Ladies' Gallery. Il est mon devoir, alors.
It is my duty
Il est mon devoir de faire savoir la.
It is my duty to inform the House that a vacancy has occurred in the representation. The Honourable Stéphane Dion, member for the electoral district of Saint-Laurent, by resignation effective Monday, February 6, 2017. Pursuant to subsection 25(1)(b) of the Parliament of Canada Act, I have addressed my warrant to the Chief Electoral Officer for the issue of a writ for the election of a member to fill this vacancy.
The
Honourable Member for Repentigny has a point of order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that you will see there is unanimous consent for the following motion, that this House condemn unreservedly the statements made regarding the people of Quebec by the Washington Post columnist on February 1st and ask the Government of Canada to defend Quebec's reputation internationally. Does the Honourable Member have unanimous consent of the House to move the motion? No, there is not unanimous consent.
Alton is rising on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to inform the House of a breach of Standing Order 39. It is in regards to what is now popularly known as the carbon tax cover-up, and it may rise as such.
Order, order, order. Allard, Lord, Allard. Order. I just remind colleagues that the member is allowed to present his point of order, and I would encourage the member to remember that this is not debate and to carry on with his point of order.